Hey makers, so I'm starting this video out a little bit differently. I had a recent comment that I was speaking so quietly that they couldn't hear me and it seemed like I was whispering. So I just wanted to apologize because that will probably be the case if you had problems hearing me on that particular video for anything that I've released in the last 2 weeks. So here's the situation. I will attempt to make sure that I'm speaking loudly, but I got an ear infection 2 weeks ago today. And so I spent the weekend 2 weeks ago with a high temperature and chills and things like that. We didn't quite figure it out until late on Sunday night when I started having ear pain and I suddenly couldn't hear anything out of this ear. And then it started to ring really loudly in my head. So I couldn't hear noise from outside in this ear, but I could hear a really loud ringing, and then it made it difficult for me to hear what was going on from this ear over the noise in my head. That being said, so when I talk, it feels like I am speaking really, really loudly, and I'm projecting too much. So I overcompensate, and I guess I use my inside voice and the one that I use to get the kids' attention when they're being a little too noisy in class. So all that being said, I did a whole round of antibiotics, Mucinex, Sudafed, Tylenol, Advil, you name it. We tried even the eardrops. And so that took away the pain and all of that, but I still can't hear anything out of this ear and it's still ringing really loudly. So for 2 weeks, I've been dealing with this. And so I'm attempting to make sure that I speak loud enough that everyone can hear me, not only you, but my students. So anyway, I apologize, but that's the situation. So I'm on a second round of different antibiotics and also steroids, and we are trying Flonase this time. And then this week, I'm going to make an appointment to see an ENT doctor and see if they can help me so that things can hopefully go back to normal, I hope. So anyway, I have a new compassion for people who have difficulty hearing out of one or both ears. It really makes it tough, goodness, to function. So anyway, all that to say, let me know in the comments, if you can't hear me or something like that. I'm going to do my best. Hopefully you can either turn me up or turn me down. So if I'm too loud, turn me down. If I'm not loud enough, please try and turn me up, and I hope that you can hear and that you're inspired by today's video. After that intro, I really just want to get right into the make. So let me start telling you about what I am using to make this today, and then give you some options for some things that you might want to choose. So as you can tell from my fingernails, I am still in the midst of my St. Patrick's Day celebration, and I will be through pretty much the end of this month. So I am making another St. Patrick's Day decor piece, and this is going to be a very quick one. So I'm using the Tim Holtz Vault Rosettes die set, and from this I am just going to be using the heart die. So if you've been following me for any time at all, you know that I use the hearts to make a shamrock out of 3 of them, and then I usually cut a little stem out of the paper that I'm using. So to cut this paper out, I went to my favorite Tim Holtz Ideology paper line, and it is the Backdrops from 2023, Volume 5. I love this. I mean, it has so many amazing colors, fronts and backs. You got just this whole palette of wonderful color. I think I bought like 3 or 4 packs of this because I was like, I do not want to run out of any colors. I love this so much. So I pulled 2 of the green papers, and there are also colors on the back, and I just think this one's so gorgeous with the golds and the florals and the scrolls. I think this is going to be perfect for what I'm going to do today, but I was, I thought maybe not, you never know, and so I pulled a second piece just in case. So this one will work just fine with the small green print, or I thought this might be fun too with the text on the back. So I have some options. I'll probably cut several from both so that I can just see how it works. All right, so that's the paper I'm using. This is the die I'm using. I am going to put that onto the 3D intertwined texture fade, which is kind of the basket weave one. And I'm going to be distressing white heavy stock and with the ground espresso archival ink and running it through this. So that's what I'm going to do for the background, to kind of have a weathered look behind it. And then I am going to be framing each one with a mini framed panel. Now, these were in the ideology line for many, many years. They have been retired for several years, but like any good Tim Holtz addict, you know what I did? I heard that they were going to be retired, and so I bought a box of them. So this is the mini framed. I get 2 framed panels, and the larger one is the full frame panel. So I wanted to make 2 of these so that I maybe put them in a bookcase or something like that. So if you don't have a boatload of these like I do, it's not a problem. For many years before I used these, I actually would just run to the Dollar Tree and get some 4x6 frames and just use that. So, you know, you can do that just as easily. You just take the frame and then you can put it on a piece of chipboard or something like that. Or even if you want to put it on a piece of chipboard and then attach it to the back with a little leg or something so that it stands up, all of that is fabulous. So like I said, I did that for many years, and that's a great option. Just some 4x6 frames instead. Okay, so those are all the things that I will be using for today's project. And so I invite you to come along and let's start making. I'm going to begin by painting my frames and the sides and backs of my panels with Distress Picket Fence paint. And this sometimes soaks in and a little too much shows through. I am going to distress these so that they do kind of look like they're old and worn. And so it may take me a couple of coats of white. So I want to get started with that so they can be drying while I'm kind of working on some other things, because I do want this to go together fairly quickly. And this is the part that's going to take the longest. Paint drying, go figure. I will use a heat tool to dry it in between layers, but I just wanted to let you know, because I'm not going to make you watch me paint and paint and paint and paint. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So when we come back, these should be painted. I'll show you how I'm going to distress them, and then we'll move on. The frames are drying, and so I set those aside. I have 2 pieces of white heavy stock cut, and this is 4 1/4 by about 6 1/2, 6 1/4. I just need it to be able to fit inside the frames, so this will fit. So I'll probably end up cutting some off. That's fine. All right, I have my intertwined piece, and so the one that you want to ink is this one. So the one that has most of the basket part raised is the part that is not going to be inked. And so the larger side has the little pointy parts that are going to go down in between. Those are the ones you want to ink. So I have my ground espresso archival ink, and I am going to just press it on here, and I really want to get it in so that all those depressions are colored. That's my main goal, getting the depressions covered. So I'm just going to do that. And it's looking pretty good. I want to be sure that I get the edges. Okay. Now, I'm going to show it to you so you can see. That looks really good to me. And I'm going to go ahead and take a piece. I'm going to put it on here and hold this. Okay, so I'm going to hold it till I'm ready to go. And I'm actually going to try it this way. I usually do it the other way. So I have taken off my Thinlit adapter plate and my extra cutting pad. So I just have my adapter on here. I'm putting it on an angle. I'm going to put my cutting plate on there. And here we go. And I know on this one you only have to go once, but I always go back through. There we go. Worn. I love it. So I'm going to do the other one, and then when we come back, I'm going to put together my hearts. All right, I have my backgrounds done. I just threw some of the hearts on. I haven't really done anything to them except put them together a little bit. And so I cut a stem for this one. So I wanted to just show you putting one of these together. And you can see that when you cut them out of patterned paper, it's difficult to see the score lines. If you look closely, you can actually see them and, you know, just go through. And I just use my fingers when I'm doing this and just turn it, and I just kind of do that a little bit. And so you just do that on all of the score lines. Okay. And same thing on this one with the wording, so you can see kind of what both of those look like. A little bit easier to see when it is plain paper, but once you kind of start doing this, you begin to see them even on the patterns. You begin to see it. So and you just keep folding all along those score marks until you get them all folded and you're ready to go. Now, the part that has the big heart, which is this, that's the back side, and it is flat. So it's the flat heart that sits like that. So that's going to be the back of your heart. So when you're cutting, you want to put the one that has all of the little lines. You want to put that on the part that you know is going to be in the front. And the reason I'm telling you that is because on something like this, it really doesn't matter. You're just going to cut it, lay it down on the paper. And maybe it doesn't matter on something like this. But I wanted to see the roses on these hearts. And so if I wasn't careful where I laid it and I put the part of the heart that I could see, then the heart's going to be on the back and you're not going to have, you know, maybe the thing that you wanted on the front of your heart. So if you want the roses, you have to be sure that you put the part with all the cuts and the score lines, that part over what you want to see, and then know that the heart shape is going to be over something that's going to be on the back. All right. So once you've got them all folded and you're ready to go, I start with this piece of the front. So here's the back, and then you have one little triangle, you have a middle triangle, and then you have a triangle on, that would be the left if you were holding it this way. So I put my adhesive, and I just use collage medium. You can use whatever you want, but this works for me. So I use a little collage medium and I go all along that score line. And then I just tap my finger across there and make sure that I don't have too much on the front of it. All right, now this that's attached to the back, I'm going to line this up down to the point, and I hold it with my fingers. And I kind of push down there, make sure the glue is not coming out. Hold it all the way down to the tip. I keep pressing it. So you can see that I had that little flap right there. And I continue to press that down until it seems like it's holding. Then I go to the next flap over. And this is all for the point of the heart. Again, I go along that fold line and then with my finger, and you can hear my cat maybe in the background. I don't know. You can hear, that's Moose. He wants in. Okay. And I'm going to hold that down. So this flap is going to be kind of on the back of the point. So hold that down all the way to the tip, pressing it and holding it until it sets like that, okay? So here's our back, and our front is starting to take shape. So now that those have kind of adhered, we are going to attach this side, which, whoops, we're going to attach that side that doesn't have a flap, and we're attaching it to the flap along the side, the other side of the back. All right. Now when I'm doing this, not for the camera, I usually just hold it. I do this while I'm watching something. If it's in the evening, sometimes it's Bones, sometimes it's Columbo, whatever I can find that's on. Okay. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and attach it to the other side of the back. So the other side of the back's the one with the flap. So we're going to go ahead and put our glue along there. Run your finger along it so that you get it all over the flap, but not onto the back. And then you want to press it in, and it's going to go all along the side of the edge of the heart, like that. All right, so you can see here's the point of the heart. This is going all the way along the edge. And I just kind of hold it, again, while I'm watching TV, I just hold it like this. And make sure that it gets set. And if you want, you could take a little something like if you have a thin bone folder or something, and you can make sure that you get that flap pressed against the front. You could do that if you wanted. All right, now, see, I didn't hold that long enough because I'm trying to rush through this, but okay. All right, now you're left with your 4 flaps at the top to make the round part of the heart. So I just go ahead and put all of my collage medium on all 4. And do this again. Okay. Then I carefully tuck this one in. Tuck this one, and you want to tuck this one. They all will be going inside. There we go. And then when you squeeze it, you're going to see that there's an opening there. So I usually squeeze these 2 like this for just a minute to try and make sure I got contact. You don't want to squeeze it down too much. And then you need to push the center part here down like that. And that's going to get the other 2 flaps adhered. And so I've been doing this, where I've been putting it down and kind of squeezing it so that I don't lose the 3D effect. And there's your heart. Okay. Now, again, I would hold everything a little bit longer because I want to be sure that it dries, but that's the basic way that you're going to get your heart put together. So just be patient. And like I said, put on something that you want to watch and just, you know, make a bunch of hearts, carefully holding them until it really adheres. And then you will have all these adorable little hearts ready to put together and form some shamrocks. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up some of these and decide if I want to use the same ones, if I want to use a couple of different ones, which ones that I want to use for this. And I also want to distress my frames, and I'm going to cut some words out that go beneath for St. Patrick's Day. So I'm going to be using the Vault Hippity Hop letters for my sentiments today. All right. I finished one so that I can just kind of talk through some of this with the second one for you. So here's what a finished one looks like. And here's what I did. So let's talk about the frames. All right. I do not know what happened, but it stopped videotaping partway through this. So I'm not sure exactly where it left off. Let me try and back up a little bit. I'm so sorry. So I think that I finished one so that I could show you what I'm doing. I'm not sure if it got how I did the crackle. I demonstrated it, and so it's over here drying, but really I just took the opaque crackle paste, I stuck my finger in it, and I just put some around on the outside of the frame, and I'm letting this dry and crackle as we speak. Try and get some in the, just, you know, in the corners here and there, on the front, on the sides, and, you know, even on this bumpy area, and let it dry. Then as it dries and crackles, there will also be some of the paint revealed because I sanded it before I put the crackle on. So I went around with one of the sanding discs and I sanded some of the paint off. So where the wood is showing, I wanted that to look weathered and warm. So once the crackle paste dried, I went over the wood areas with my hickory smoke, and I really just did this to get some dark gray on it. Then I sprayed it with Lost Shadow Distress Spray Stain and let all of that kind of soak in and get weathered looking. And then I let it kind of soak in where all of the little cracks are on here. And that really, you know, kind of brings out the weathered areas in all the little cracks and everything like that. That's kind of what we want to see. And then I wanted that wood to look weathered. And then I just took a paper towel and I just patted the excess and dried it with the heat tool, let it dry, and we were good to go with that. Okay, so I have that setting over here. Sorry that I missed that. Okay, now, you saw me make the backgrounds, so that's going to go on the panel in a few minutes. I also used the Vault Bunny, and I cut the pennant out with black heavy stock, so you can see that. And then the little pennants, I cut out of 2 different pattern papers. So one of them was this patterned paper that I had left over, and then the darker green is the back of the florals that I used to make some of the hearts. So I had some of that left over also, and so I cut pennants with it. Now, I still had some of each left over, and I cut a strip across the bottom. It's about 6 inches wide, and I cut a 1 inch by 6 inch strip, and I cut it into half. So these are 1 by 3 inch, and I thought I would put that down here, and then from the floral one, I cut a 3/4 by 2 3/4 inch piece, and that goes on there. And then that will take, you know, be a nice kind of mat for my sentiment or the thing that I wanted to put on here. Now, remember, I celebrate St. Patrick's Day as a religious holiday, so I used the word grace, and over here is the word faith. And I cut my alpha out of the Hippity Hop Vault set. So it is this alphabet from the Hippity Hop set. So grace and then faith, and I cut them out twice, each letter out twice out of white heavy stock, and I just layered them. So I put my Distress Collage Medium all over the back of one of the letters, and then I just attached it to the second letter, and that will give it a little bit of dimension when I put it on the mat. And don't worry, that's just Leota. She's, you know, hanging out with us, and she is really demanding right now. She wants me to stop and pet her. So whenever you see just one hand kind of moving over here, the other hand is back behind me petting her. She's on my chair. All right, so you can see if you look carefully that Grace is a little bit thicker than just one layer, and so that was so that it would stand up a little bit from that mat. There's a Leota here, and it would, you would be able to see it. Now, for my hearts, once I got them made, I put some foam tape on the back of each one, and trimmed a little bit to put on the back of the hand-cut stem like that. So that will be standing out, but I really felt like that didn't stand out enough for me, and so I could leave it like that, but I felt like I just wanted something else. And so I looked at the Tim Holtz doilies. They were all too big for this, so I just have some Wilton. Where is my package? I have some Wilton 4-inch doilies, you know, that I got at, I don't know, the hobby store in the cake baking aisle or something. I guess they're for cupcakes or whatever. So I had these and I just popped them on top as just kind of a little background. And then this can go over the bottom of it. And your little banners can go over just the top edge. Now you can see that I only have 3 here, and that'll be plenty. And I have 4 little pennants here, and that's because I just did 1 out of this and then I cut it in half so that I could use it on both. Okay. And then I just attach these by taking off the tape and attaching it on there. And the way that you put the panel on, it's really fairly simple. So when you are putting the paper on the panel, I just put a nice layer of collage medium and then press it down. And I actually do this before I attach anything, all right, because you want to really be able to press it down. So before I put any of this stuff on it, I put a lot of collage medium on there, and I usually press it down. And then what I will do is put it like this, and you can either put something heavy on it, or you can just kind of, you know, lean on it while you're watching whatever show you're watching or whatever, just long enough so that it really comes in contact, it stays in contact, and it's nice and flat on there when you're finished. And then once it's nice and flat, you can keep taking your frame, and that usually helps me to figure out where I want everything. So, Leota, you gotta be patient. All right, now I'm trying to do these opposite. So you can see that I'm kind of doing this way, and then since this one's in this corner, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in this corner. And you can just kind of put the edges right underneath like that. And this, I want it to go under just a little bit there before I attach it. And I wanted this outside the frame on the front of it like that. All right, and then we'll be putting our little mat. And I have gone around each of these with Distress ink in ground espresso. Hi, sweet girl. Hang on. Okay. And I put foam tape on the back of this also. You can see that it is also popped up. These are popped up. This is flat, but it's on top of that. All right, so there we go. And then I will put my faith letters. I will layer them. They will go across there. And then I will attach these. Now for my doily, I put little glue dots behind each of the edges and the center where I knew it was going to be covered by my shamrock. And then I'll have 2, so see, it's still not dry yet. Then I'll have 2 finished pieces. Okay. I think they're super cute. So I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then I'll go ahead and do all the, you know, inking like I told you. I'll attach it all together, and when we come back, I'll show you both of them finished. And here they are all finished up. So you can see that I went ahead and I got this distressed, showed you how I did that. And I went ahead and attached this off camera, but I did point out, you know, kind of where I added the glue and layered this off camera, but I did go ahead and then attach this and attach the rest of it so that you could see it. So I just think they are really cute. I'm so happy with the way they turned out. They're going to fit perfectly with my St. Patrick's Day decor. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I'm really sorry about the little mix-up in the middle where it just quit filming. So I hope I picked it up in the right place and I covered everything that you might have questions about. If I didn't, and if you would like some clarification on anything, maybe you'd like to make your own instead of St. Patrick's Day. Maybe you want to make something that is Valentine's or Easter or whatever it is. Just go ahead and leave me a comment on this YouTube tutorial, and I will be glad to answer you back as quickly as I can or to the best of my ability. Or you can ask a question on my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com. Either one of those will work. If you want any of these, except as we talked about the frames, if you want any of these supplies, I will link them in the description for this video and also on my blog. All right. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. All of that is supporting me and helping so much with this channel. And I want to wish you a very creative day.